The Cecil Soil Conservation District proudly presents James Yale Jr. as our 2017 Cooperator of the Year. His farm, located on Lombard Road in Rising Sun, Maryland, encompasses nearly 100 acres of crop ground, pasture, and woodland, and supports a dairy operation that has seen many changes over the past century. Jim is committed to the preservation and conservation of his farmland to ensure that future generations of farmers can continue making a living on the land. In 1927, Jim's parents, Gussie and James Yale Sr., purchased the farm and began running a dairy operation. Gussie and James raised 9 children together: Paul, Eula, Lef, Ima, Vera, Bill, Jim, Frank, and Millie. Jim was born 86 years ago in the house he still lives in today. The farmhouse is more than 200 years old. He and his siblings grew up working on the farm. After graduating from Calvert Agricultural High School in 1949, Jim headed off to Baltimore Vocational School, while his younger brother Frank began managing the farm. However, when a health problem led Frank to move on to a different job, their father asked Jim to return. In 1951, Jim came back home to the farm, where the dairy operation was gradually expanding. His parents had begun with a little stanchion barn, and they added a row as they increased their herd size. Later, they added a pipeline milking system, and then in 1986, they built a milking parlor. His parents had kept an all-Guernsey herd, but in the 1950s, Jim suggested that they add some Holsteins, so they bought some, including purebreds and show cattle. The Yale family grew as well when Jim met an Elkton girl, Phyllis. Jim and Phyllis were married in 1971. Together, they raised Phyllis's 3 children, Dawn, Mark, and Shelley. Phyllis worked as a paralegal for the Elkton law firm of Baker and Tomey for many years. The children grew up on the farm, with Mark taking a special interest in the cows, milking, showing dairy cows at the Cecil County Fair, and participating on the dairy judging team. Their years were filled with work and times of celebration. Cherished time spent with their children and grandchildren, and vacations in the sunny South. Jim has had several employees over the years. One of them, Bob Hawk, who now lives next door, arrived as a kid looking for a job and worked for Jim for 4 years. Bob and Jim remain close today. Jim notes that he liked to give young people an opportunity to work on the farm and was pleased when they moved on to be successful elsewhere. When Jim was ready to retire, a succession of tenant farmers continued the dairy operation on the farm. Memis Forrest, George Donnan, and John Sprout each spent a few years at the Yale farm before moving on to other farms. Jim has supported and encouraged young families, giving them the opportunity to lease his farm and share his love for agriculture. Bob and George took the Oliver 66 row crop tractor, which James Yale Sr. purchased as the farm's first tractor in 1952, and surprised Jim with a restoration in 2008. He is a bit of a collector who enjoys vintage tractors. When it came time to find new tenants, the Yales heard that the Millers were looking to expand their existing dairy operation. The two families had known each other for years, and Bob Miller grew up with the Yale family. In 2014, after conversations with Jim and Phyllis, Chesapeake Gold Farms began managing the farm. Chesapeake Gold Farms is owned by Bob, his wife Diane, and their sons, Wes, Matt, and Ben. They started milking at the farm in 2015. Wes is the farm's herdsman, and Tricia Hayden is the full-time milker at the Yale farm. The Millers are currently milking about 70 cows at the Yale farm and have about 20 heifers on the pasture there. The remainder of the dairy herd is split between their home farm and Mount Ararat. The cows are milked twice a day. The milking parlor is a double 5 herringbone, and there are 2 free stall barns that are bedded with sand. The main barn has 60 stalls, and the second barn has 30. All of the Millers are involved with cropping operations on the farm. The Millers apply manure according to their nutrient management plan. They work with Post Road LLC for drag lining. to minimize soil compaction and protect soil health. Spring Valley spreading provides manure injection to place nutrients into the seedbed. The Millers have found the Yale farm to be a good addition to their dairy operation, allowing them to expand close to their home farm. The farm has a long history of participation with the Soil Conservation District. James Yale Sr., Jim's father, signed a conservation plan in 1946, just 1 year after the district was formed. Early best management practices included terraces and contour farming to reduce soil erosion and some ditches, which were installed with dynamite. Over 3,000 feet of tile drain was installed in the 1960s to enhance the cropland. In 1986, an earthen manure storage pond was built to store the dairy manure from the new milking parlor. In more recent years, Jim and the Millers have improved the farm, with a series of best management practices working in cooperation with the district. Jim enjoys watching the construction as his farm continues to be transformed. In 2015, a roof runoff structure was installed to allow clean water to be diverted through a pipe to a stable outlet below the farm headquarters. 4 stormwater catch basins were installed in 2016, collecting runoff from Lombard Road and the farm's impervious surfaces and outletting into the existing ditch. The 2 existing barns were updated to freestalls using sand for bedding. The existing barnyard was expanded, and a scrape alley was constructed to transfer manure from the barnyard to the storage structure. The existing manure storage system was upgraded to a 120 by 12-foot deep circular waste storage tank in 2016. The structure was installed using poured concrete with rebar supports. The tank allows for up to 8 months of storage. The ramp in the manure tank allows the operator to access the tank bottom and remove any sand that has settled during the process of pumping out the liquid manure. Access roads around the tank allow equipment to efficiently empty the tank. Stream bank fencing was installed to exclude animals from environmentally sensitive areas. Animal trails with fencing are planned to enhance pasture management. The Millers also plant cover crops every fall after the main crop is harvested to minimize erosion from fields and capture residual nutrients in the soil for the next crop. The farm was preserved under rural legacy with the state of Maryland and the Cecil Land Trust in 2007, ensuring that the land will remain in agricultural use for the future generations of farmers. We celebrate Jim's commitment to young farmers and conservation as he works closely with the Miller family. The Cecil Soil Conservation District recognizes James Yale Jr. for his hard work, dedication to agriculture, and commitment to conservation and preservation.